Welcome back to the light at the end of the ocean. And this video is going to be mainly comprised of me running through some of the scenes we've seen thus far, trying some different choices, trying to examine more of what's available, and most importantly, trying to get the remaining endings. See how we can change Mayara's fate here. With that in mind, let's get into it. Green tea with lemon and lemon and honey. Does that one say liver disaster? I'll have to ask her if I can try some of these. Maybe I should try cooking something in here later. Not particularly appetizing. Go upstairs. This is where I woke up this morning. It's pretty comfortable. I'm tempted to take a nap, but I better not. Then I won't be tired later, and I don't want to be up all night in this weird place. Wow, I'm not looking great. Not that I can remember what I normally look like, but I hope it's not quite this bad. Don't even want to look again. This is her room. Should I really be snooping around in here? So she does have some books. Maybe I'll look through these when my head isn't hurting so much. I'll look at these more later. What else can we look at in here? I better not bother her while she's working, even if I am really bored. She has some pretty nice dresses in here. I wonder what cause she ever has to wear them on this island. Shouldn't snoop through her wardrobe too much. This looks really old. I wonder who these people are. Maybe her grandparents or something. Seems like it was taken at a party. The guest examines the photograph, looking for details that may indicate its time period. As she holds it to the light, she feels a sudden warmth as the frame touches her hand and her vision swarms into nothingness. Aha! This scene taking place if we get this flashback first. I don't know, I picked up this photograph and suddenly my hand felt really hot and... Oh, yeah, that's how it works here. I'll get used to it. What? This really isn't a normal island. Hard to explain. I'll figure it out anyway. There's a process to it. Now, do you want to go see the rest of the island or look at the light? Honestly, go see the rest of the island. I guess I want to go see the rest of the island. Alright, you go on ahead. See you outside. Photograph, huh? Can't seem to get rid of that thing. Keeper joins her guest outside the lighthouse, locking the old oak door behind her. The rain of that morning has finally stopped, but the wind has picked up, and the guest rubs her arms to keep warm. You've already seen the North Shore where you crashed. This way's the south. She leads the guest to the opposite for the... Is it the same scene? Yeah, pretty much the same scene, except this is our first sunset. Oh, sunset came quickly. Hang on, I thought she said this side was the south. Guest sighs and follows the keeper back up the hill, with a disorienting sunset at her back. Middle of the night, the guest stands in the kitchen, sipping a glass of water as she looks out the window at the dark blue sea. It looks like we're locked inside anyway. If she was going to hide a key, it would make sense for it to be in her room, right? Can't imagine hiding anything up there. It's all pretty open. It's that photograph from yesterday. What was going on then? She didn't drug me or something, did she? I don't want to touch it again. Nothing in the pockets of any of the clothes. Nothing behind the books. That's what we have to see in Rose's room now. Wish I could just look in the mirror and then find what I'm searching for in my pocket. It's a reference to something. Why do I remember that? Nothing under the pillow. Checking again. Nope, that's all we got to see in there. Here's our train ticket. What's this doing here? Oh, apologies for being locked in. You still haven't seen how the light works. No. Want to do that then? Not even going to explain? Yeah, why do I even try? Of course you're not. There's a process to how things happen here. Trying to explain prematurely won't help anyone. It'll all make sense before you leave. The guest shakes her head in resignation. I guess all I can do is take your word for it. Please. Yeah, whatever. You seem genuine enough. I just wish. Doesn't matter. Show me the light. Thank you. Go ahead. I'll meet you there. Nobody lock her in. What's the point of that? What an awful... We still didn't... In the bad ending, we got no thoughts about who this he is. Keeper arrives at the top of the wooden ladder to see the guest marveling at the giant lantern that dominates the room. Again, the same comments about the sunset, but different location. It's always earlier than you expect here. What do you need to do to make sure the light is working? Keep an eye on the paraffin levels. If we leave, that nothing really happens. It still feels like this might be something. Do you need any help with it? No, but thank you for offering. No problem. I guess since I don't know what to do, I'd probably just get in the way. It's not that, it's just... Maybe you can learn another time, if you really want to. Sure. If I'm hanging out here for a while anyways, I might as well make myself useful. You don't need to work to be useful. Well, have a good night. You too. The guest glances at the sunset through the glass once more before descending to her bedroom for the night. Feels like this is going better. Well, it might be just me. Keeper gazes out at the ocean from the top of the tower, her face illuminated unevenly by the glow of the lantern. Her eyes remain fixated on the horizon, even as soft footsteps reach the top of the ladder next to her. Honey, I'm home. Now we're going to look for Elle. Raincoat must be an important thing to have here, judged by the weather when I first arrived. It's a pretty nice coat. Wish I had a walking stick like this. It would make hiking around here a lot easier. Let's actually go downstairs. There are a lot of files in here. Here's one for Walker, Emma, born August 9th, 1989 in Brampton, Ontario, Canada. It rained the day she was born, and for 3 days afterwards. She will be kind to others, but too hard on herself. She will encounter many shipwreck-bound souls. She will try to help them, but she will not always succeed. Shipwreck-bound. Shipwreck-bound. What is this? Maybe I should just put it back. It feels weird looking at all this personal information if that's even what it is. I shouldn't read more. I'm snooping too much as it is. That and those files creep me out. Oh, one of those fancy globes that has bumps for the mountains and things. I feel an urge to make this spin around really fast. Do it! Wow, this is a pretty big book collection. Oh, The Sign of the Four. I think I remember enjoying that book a long time ago. As the guest opens the book, a gust of wind with no discernible source blows through the pages, and she feels her hands growing hot again. Interesting. What happens after this flashback here before we even meet Elle? Hello there. First thing the guest sees upon returning to consciousness is the archivist coming down the stairs. Whoa! You okay, honey? In this go-round, we haven't actually seen her bedroom yet. Guest follows the archivist upstairs into the bedroom. The archivist busies herself at the small corner kitchenette as the guest sinks into the oversized pink couch. Any milk or sugar? Yes, please. Oh, I'm not sure what to make here. So we end up doing both anyways. Let's help in the archives, why not? We've seen this before, but we'll see if anything changes. We do get one small line here. Based on her previous experience with the files of the archive, the guest was expecting more cryptic and unsettling prophecies. Everything she feels she can get away with reading seems to be entirely mundane information. Name, date of birth, gender, marital status, and so on. These files make me feel like something's wrong somehow, but at the same time I really want to take another look. Okay, I'll just peek on one more. Hart, Cecil. Born January 23rd, 1895 in London, England. 1895? How far back did these go? Born on a frosty morning, his good looks will garner attention wherever he goes. He will lose them only in death. Struck by a German soldier's bullet while attempting to cross the Sambreoz Canal. I don't like this. I'm putting it away. Not looking at any more of these. Not again. Do it. Won't risk touching that again. The book. I've seen this. Nice old-fashioned painting. It looks really realistic. These three women seem to be sewing something. One of them is unspooling the thread, and one seems ready to cut it. It's that Elle in the middle measuring it. Looks a lot like her. I think I've seen a sewing machine like this. Maybe my mother had one. My grandmother. Can't remember if I ever learned to sew. Oh, necklace with an L on it. Is this because Elle sounds like Elle? Did I just assume she called herself Elle when it really is Elle? Easy for me to say. Is this Elle? She clearly really likes pink. It's kinda cute. The necklace is a bit gaudy for my taste. Yeah. Alright. We'll go through this now. I'll pick a different book just for the heck of it. Rose did seem particularly partial to the Moonstone. I think I'll try Surfacing. Ooh, this one might be my favorite out of the three. I hope you like it. Elle hands the guest her chosen novel with a big smile. I'm gonna start reading now. Feel free to relax on the couch in my room. Or enjoy the nice weather while it's still light out. I have some work to do down here, but I'll come up and talk to you later. Ah, yes, book reading. It's reading Surfacing. It's about a woman in an isolated place with a lot of water trying to solve mysteries, so I can kind of relate. Do you like it? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's been nice to have something to do to pass the time other than just wondering what's going on here. Yeah. Sorry about that. It must be hard for you. Yeah, it is. It really was an accident the other day, when you were locked in. This is one that Rose took very badly. When we ask about her past, I'm Rose. That kind of killed the mood. I was wondering if I could ask you a bit more about those visions I saw. Like, what did Edwin mean? No. She slams her mug down on the table. Let's not do that. What do you want to do today? The guest considers asking a more probing question, but thinks better of it. It settles out a friendly one. So what do you want to do today? At first, Rose's silence makes the guest wonder whether the question was somehow impertinent, but it soon becomes apparent that she is simply deep in thought. Good question. How are you feeling? Are your injuries bothering you? The guest stretches her neck and shoulders a bit to test. They're all right. In that case, we could explore the cellar. There's a cellar here? I haven't seen it. You have to go outside and down a ladder to get to it, so it's a bit of a hassle. But I think there might be some old board games down there. You could find one we could play with Elle. The guest grins. That sounds nice. Rose's smile grows wider as well. And let's do that after we finish our tea. The guest nods in assent and takes another sip, letting the hint of the blueberry linger on her tongue. That Yeah, that went way better than the last time. You never eat beans? What about beans on toast? That sounds disgusting. It's delicious. That's hard to believe. Nothing but beans. It's the board game. What about this? What's this? It's full of papers and file folders. Must be Elle's then. She stored some things down here a while ago, when she was cleaning and reorganizing the archive. Even more of Elle's files. I thought she already had a ridiculous amount. Okay, not really anything else to see here, so let's get this. Board game! It's interesting we get the option to skip this montage afterwards. Which, you know what? We're gonna skip the montage. It's them getting to know the island. I remember my mum buying me that t-shirt from my university bookstore when I first moved in. I don't remember what my mum looked like, though. I don't look any better than I did last time. It's like my wounds aren't healing. Why aren't they healing? Time's not passing, we're not alive. This is the state we died in. I'm worried about touching this again, but what else can I do? There must be something I'm supposed to find here. Yep, Mayara Murphy. That's her name, Mayara Murphy. I don't like that name. Mayara Murphy, who are you? Food crates are here, but they're all empty. There's always seemed to be much more food sitting around here than anyone needs anyway. Rose's tea canisters are all here, but it looks like someone's ripped up the labels and stuck them back together to spell different words. I think this used to be blueberry, raspberry, ginseng, and sleepy time. Now it says blood, remember, giants, and suicide. Here's our coin. Was it the door? It looks really all the same. The doorknob burned the palm of her hand, and another scene on that cliff materializes. Interesting, now we have the option. I think we only botched that one conversation with Rose when he brought up Edwin. We can now stay a little longer. It's not sad. What? It's not sad, Rose. Mayara stretches out a shaky hand and places it on the Keeper's shoulder. The Keeper flinches but stays put. You said, what a sad fate. But it's not that sad. Because I met you. She pulls the other woman into an embrace. Aww. Rose is tense at first, but after a moment she relaxes. She rests her head against Mayara's chest, and Mayara runs a hand through her hair. Goodbye, Rose. I think I'll really miss you. I'll miss... Rose stops her own sentence short with a gasp. She was trying to become impartial to him. But alas. Here they are, two men. The ferryman leans on a tall wooden stick, the rain pounding against the patches of his skin, his tattered clothing leaves exposed. The messenger beside him, sheltered from the storm by a thick cloak and a wide-brimmed hat, fixes Mayara with a speculative stare. Will you be coming with us after all? Oh. No, she will not. Rose steps forward and takes Mayara's hand. Ooh! Messenger sighs. I suspected as much. You're not supposed to be here, Mayara. So you did know. Anger flares in the Lighthouse Keeper's eyes. If I hadn't realized it, then what? Would you have taken her with you again? With you anyway? Perhaps. Why? Is it a part of that mysterious process that's so important to you all? I'm supposed to figure it out myself? Or do you simply not care whether the souls you take are even your own? The man in the cloak inclines his head towards his companion. Ask him. It's not my job. I'm just a messenger. Rose considers following his flippant instructions, but one glance at the ferryman's wild eyes changes her mind. Instead, she turns to Mayara, clasping her hand tightly. Mayara, listen to me. What he said was right. You're not supposed to be here. When you held me, I could feel your heartbeat. Oh, you're alive, Mayara. You don't belong in this place of the dead. Wake up. Wake up, Mayara. As soon as the words leave Rose's lips, Mayara appears to pop out of existence, a look of shock on her face. Rose closes her eyes and tries to hold on to that last image of her guest, but it's already fading almost as quickly. She lets her now empty hand fall to her side. Messenger and the ferryman loom over her, their faces unchanging. Well, what are you still doing here? She's gone. I'll see you next time you bring a delivery. The messenger shakes his head. There's one more message for you. Rose rolls her eyes. What? Messenger straightens his posture and adopts a formal tone. Your tenure as Lighthouse Keeper approaches its end. Your sentence was 100 years on the mortal clock. 95 have passed. Rose's indignant expression softens. Has it really been that long? It has. Then what happens to me when the time is up? Where do I go? The response to her question is another lackadaisical shrug. It's not up to me. I'm just the messenger. Some messenger you are. Ah! On a rare sunny morning in Belfast, a sagacious survivor is walking to work. Been over 5 years since her second suicide attempt resulted in a head injury the doctors worried she wouldn't recover from, alongside several broken bones. But against the odds, she persevered and made a full recovery, barring some occasional, mostly manageable memory problems. Found a small apartment in Belfast as soon as she was able to live independently again. In spite of the bad memories of her first trip to Northern Ireland, something about the small, picturesque country seemed to call her back. Some of her dissatisfaction with the human condition lingers, of course. Things like that don't just go away. She still feels lost sometimes, insecure at her ability to deal with the stress and monotony that come with functioning in society. At least for now, she's content with her job as an archival assistant at Ulster University. Her supervisor tells her that she has a natural talent for it. In her spare time, been piecing together something of a novel, based on the fragments that come back to her sometimes of a dream she had while she was in a coma. Every morning she goes out of her way to take a route to work that passes the Europa Hotel. Wasn't sure what first drew her eye to the building on the tour bus all those years ago, but she knows now. The Europa Hotel is the most resilient building she's ever heard of. It was bombed 36 times during the decades of violence that characterized the 20th century in this country, but each time it was repaired and rebuilt. And there it still stands, a 51-meter-high testament to survival. As she admires it once more on this beautiful spring morning, a strikingly familiar face catches her eye. Rose. Oh? Oh! At first they wondered whether they're awake, of all the souls inhabiting this plane, and all the path that one might choose to take. For them to reunite might seem insane. And yet, against all odds, our heroes meet. With amatory arms entwined at last, the two progress further together down the street. They speak with beaming smiles about their past, their memories becoming much less blurred, and try to understand their circumstance. It seems that after all these two endured, the fates bestowed upon them a second chance. A chance to live however they see best. Our former Lighthouse Keeper and her guest. Oh, author's notes unlocked. Hello. Extra ending unlocked. Hello there. Oh, that was sweet. Again, ultimately, the game is kind of on the shorter side, but it makes sense. It really did feel like our choices with Rose were much happier than before. So really, the less we did, that sort of brought out Rose's standoffish side. Essentially, we saw enough of Rose's story to feel sympathy for her. And the less we did to draw on her standoffish side, the closer we grew to her. In the end, when we stayed and hugged her, because hey, that was her, that epiphany. She had a heartbeat. She was still alive. I had a feeling that was the case. But really, this purgatory of sorts, definitely between life and death, which that doesn't mean that you're dead when you enter it. It might simply mean that you're dying. Or close to death, hence why your soul is on the way. To a place like this. In the end, perhaps a good thing then that Elle was took such a fancy to Rose. I'm sure once the remaining 5 years of Rose's sentence. That's also weird, wording it like a sentence. When they initially phrased it like a... Well, I guess it was more along the lines of, you have both died. Edwin, you can go. We're taking you across with us. Rose, you are gonna be the Lighthouse Keeper for 100 years. Fair enough. Let's get the extra ending now, shall we? Party. 3 books on a shelf. Yeah, the 3 conversations, the right words on choice. The archivist's favorite. We know what that is now, actually. She likes you, you know, so stay. And hug her. That makes sense now. The woman with the scissors kind of creeps me out. Yeah, that's, she brings death. Now we know that surfacing is, Elle's favorite, but... You'll try the English patient. Ooh, that one's got some spicy bits. Hope you're not shy about that. Elle hands the guest her chosen novel with a big smile. If you want to start reading now, feel free to relax on the couch in my room. Enjoy that nice weather while it's still light out. I have some work to do down here, but I'll come up and talk to you later. Oh, the English patient. It's about a nurse taking care of a burn victim during World War II. Oh, do you like it? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's been nice to have something... okay, so we don't have much to say about that. Fair enough. Just for completion's sake, let's ask about the man with the boat. Do you know anything about the guy with the supplies about when the guy with the supplies in the boat will get here? No more than I did before. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. He doesn't work on a strict schedule, and his messenger has better things to do than report to me, of all people. He has a messenger? Yes, he has a messenger. Messenger isn't liable to show up on a boat any sooner than he is. Sorry, it's hard being stuck here. Well, you just have to come up with something to do to pass the time, then. Bang. What a weird combination of words. Who would even do that? Now, do we just have to examine both of these? Both empty? Yep, okay. That's all that changed. Take a coin. And work through this. If you decide to leave when you're given the choice, you get this. They're not friends. They're simply a reluctant host and guest, forced together by unfortunate circumstances outside their control. That's why the last hint says, remember she likes you. This opportunity to escape, even if it only brings more uncertainty and confusion, brings an end to their tumultuous acquaintance. With trembling hands, the guest descends the lighthouse ladder for the last time. And that's it. What? Hold on a second. With us after all. The guest takes a shaky step towards them. She flinches heavily as the heavy wooden door slams shut behind her. Do I have a choice? As if in answer, an unexpected voice rings out from the south of the island, growing louder as a bobbing head emerges over the hill. Don't forget about me! The archivist careens past the guest and stops just short of falling into the mud. Whew, I made it this time. Can't believe you just left without saying goodbye and the other endings. Mistress sighs. Jesus, what are you doing here? Don't you have work to do? Shut up, errand boy. This is my round now. The archivist shouts her insult to the messenger's face, then whirls around to face the guest. Mayara. Huh? Oh, yeah? How would you like to stay here with me? Oh, good heavens. You did a great job helping me in the archives, and you have excellent taste in books. I think we'd make great roommates. Oh, okay. Sure. Sounds better than going with these creeps. Rude. Great. Come on, then. Let's go have a cup of tea. He takes Mayara's hand and leads her back down the hill to her new home. The messenger looks on in exasperation. Another day, another soul lost to the allures of book and tea. The ferryman grunts in assent. Oh well. Let's go, Karan. Tea party unlocked, oh boy. Well, that was unexpected. I'm not complaining, but that was quite unexpected. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what time it is then. Okay, first. Oh. Missing one CG. I suppose. Let's go to the party first. Hello, and thank you for coming to my tea party. This is the part of the game where I, the main character, help answer any questions you might have about the story. Did you just say that you're the main character? You won't even show up until about a third of the way through. True, but everything before that is clearly just setting the stage for my introduction. And most of it is from my perspective. Plenty of stories aren't from the main character's perspective. This is like The Great Gatsby. The Great what? Have you not read any books from after the first time you died? Not many. But Mayara keeps telling me I should have read something called Ace Attorney. Well, if no one's going to appreciate my great literary references, then let's move on to the introductions. Hi, I'm the Jesus, also known as Elle, or Elle for short. I maintain an archive on the lives of mortals. I also go check up on Earth with my sisters once in a while. Maybe I'll visit you next time, Rose. Please don't. 100 years with you on this island was long enough. Don't worry, she's exaggerating. The ruder she is to someone, the more she actually loves them. Is that so? Why don't you introduce yourself next, Rose? Do I have to? They already read the story. Maybe they're reading this part a bit later. They forgot some things. You of all people shouldn't judge anyone for forgetfulness. Fine. I'm Rose. And I'm the Lighthouse Keeper. Or I was, for a long time. Now now I do something else, I guess. Haven't figured out what yet. Alright, I guess that's all we're gonna get out of her. How about you, Mayara? I'm Mayara. I spent some time on this island after I almost died. I'm doing a lot better now, and I work as an archival assistant. I'm so proud. And of course, we have 2 more guests with you who need to introduce themselves too. Hey, I'm Emma. It's been 5 years since I met Miara and saw her almost die. I went home, moved on with my life, managed to almost forget about how traumatic that was before Elle suddenly ripped me into an alternate dimension to do this weird meta segment. I'm extremely confused. Honestly, you could have done this without me. I'm not a very important character. Basically only exist to give Miara someone to talk to in her flashbacks. How do I know all this? How do I know all this? What is happening? I don't remember her being this grumpy in the actual story. Emma, you haven't been hanging out with Rose, have you? I haven't been hanging out with any of you crazy people. I live in Canada. Where are we now, anyways? A small island on the River Leaf. One of several outposts on the way to the afterlife. The afterlife? I'm not dead, am I? Oh no, don't worry. You're just here for a visit. Fantastic. Can I go home now? Not until you've had your tea. Let's have our last introduction. Hello. Nice to see you again, Rose. You look well. You look exactly the same. Unfortunately, there's nothing in the budget for alternate sprites just for this silly post-game sequence, so we don't have a choice there. I like your hair. The gang's all here. Now we can get on to some plot analysis. So, Rose and Miara, let's start with a question that must be on everyone's minds. Are you 2 dating? Elle, that's a very personal question. Why would you even ask that? Hey, it seemed like you 2 were getting pretty close by the end of the story. And Rose, you are bisexual, right? And what? It's another one of those new words I'll have to learn. I was only just reincarnated into the 21st century a few weeks ago, you know? Bisexual. It means you're attracted to more than one gender, Rose. Oh, I suppose I am bisexual then. That doesn't mean I'm in love with every sweet, thoughtful woman I meet who shares my interests and helps me remember my past life and rediscover my identity or anything like that. Honestly, Elle. Right, sure. What about you, Miara? I remember you mentioning an ex-girlfriend. The way you hugged Rose in the true ending looked pretty romantic to me. Well, Rose is very important to me. Kinda got off on the wrong foot at first. That was my fault. Sorry. Hey, I totally get it now. After experiencing some of your memories and figuring out everything that was going on, I started to understand that it was a really hard situation for you, too. And then you apologized and became a lot friendlier when you started to remember who you used to be. And you really went through a lot together. I hope that now that we're both now that we're both doing well and living near each other in the normal world, we can spend more time together to get to know each other a lot better, and I hope so too. So what you're saying is you're totally in love. No! Okay, fine, we'll move on for now. Emma, we didn't get much resolution to your plotline at the end. What happened after you left Miara to walk down to the bottom of the causeway? Well, I didn't know what had happened at first. When I came back up the path, there was a crowd of upset people, and I heard that someone had fallen off the cliff. I felt so guilty when I learned who it was. I couldn't stop myself feeling like maybe if I had stayed up there with her, if I had said the right thing, I could have stopped her somehow. I'm so sorry, Emma. It wasn't your fault at all. Like I said to Rose, it wasn't anyone's. I know that now, but I was still really shaken up about it, for a long time. I wished I could have visited you in the hospital or something, but I was in a foreign country and I had a flight home soon and everything. I did keep an eye on the news for a while, though. There was a short article in some of the local papers there. Women injured in a Giant's Causeway now in stable condition or something. I was glad to see that. And what else have you been doing with your life since then, Emma? Oh, well, a little while ago I got a pretty good job writing for a travel website, so that's been a lot of fun. I should write a review of my trip to this interdimensional lighthouse. Drafty accommodations, but pretty good tea. What about you, Edwin? What were you doing while our heroines were reuniting in Belfast? I don't think I'm allowed to tell you that. There's a lot of ambiguity in this story. There are some things the readers are just supposed to decide for themselves. I think that where you actually go after leaving this island is one of those things. Rose was reincarnated in the end, so maybe that happens to everyone. I'm off somewhere else in the modern world, where I don't have to worry about military conscription and I can be open about who I am. That would be nice. It would be. You know what? I hope that's the case. But then again, maybe that was a special case just for Rose because of the work she did as a Lighthouse Keeper. Maybe I'm somewhere else beyond what humans know about. Well, if you are, then I hope it's a nice place. And not that fucking supernatural. Not going there. You mean you don't know? Nope. My sisters and I may be experts on mortal lives, but what comes after that is beyond our purview. I only spend so much time on the in-between place of the lighthouse because it was a totally convenient location for my office. That and I wanted to hang out with Rose. That isn't even true. You had your office there long before Edwin and I arrived. Well, yeah, but you being there made it way more fun. I used to only drop by there once in a while, but when I found out you had moved in, I started to bring more of my work there. Is that why you seem to have endless files you're always working on? Because you were barely ever in your office until a century ago? Hey, humans are being born and dying all the time. It's a lot to keep up with. I'd like to see you try. No thanks. I think I'm done with working for immortal beings for a while. Well, I guess we've talked to all the characters in this story now. Before we go, let's... Oh no. We forgot. Better open the door. Do we have to? They'll be angry if we don't. Yes, coming. There we are. What's going on in here? Are we having a tea party without us again? Maybe. That's so rude. To be fair, your presence isn't especially conducive to a relaxing environment. Especially not Karan's. Look at that creepy guy. He's really quite nice when you get to know him. I don't believe you. Are you going to let us in or not? No. Well, now we've definitely talked to all the characters. Before we go, let's all list our favorite parts of the story. I'll go first. Mine was the only true canon ending in which Mayara decides to stay on the island with me. Don't start calling any of your silly bonus scenes canon. You'll confuse the poor readers. Well, if you feel so strongly about it, what's your favorite scene, Rose? Of course, mine is the real true ending when I finally get to leave this place. It's one of my favorite parts, too. I also like the part where you came to the archives to invite me back for dinner. That part was so cute. I don't know what you're talking about. What about our other guests? What do you think? I also think Rose is cute. You do? Of course. You were my best friend. Just because things couldn't work out between us romantically doesn't mean that I still don't care about you. I'm so glad to hear that, Edwin. Thank you. That's really sweet, but I was asking what your favorite part of the story is, Edwin. In that case, I like the flashback to when Rose and I first met. It made me very nostalgic. What about you, Emma? If I answer, will you let me go home? Yes. My favorite part was when you played that weird board game. Acceptable answer. Goodbye. Whoa. Did you just send her back to the real world? You can do that so easily? I can do anything in non-canon bonus scenes. My powers are limited only by the whims of the author. Speaking of the author, she doesn't have any more ideas for discussion topics, so that's all for the scene. I hope you enjoyed our tea party. Thanks for reading. That was cute. That was cute. Oh, we still don't know what that is, though. I'm honestly curious. We obviously have... Yep. The truth. And I'm here now. Happens to get this. Oh. That is still sweet. I like that. There's notes. Thanks so much for reading The Light at the End of the Ocean, and for sticking around after the ending to check out all the extras. This section will provide some fun detail and trivia about the creative process behind this story. Actually, before we do that, The title screen music seems to have died. Okay, got the title screen music back. My initial inspiration for this project came from a line in the song The Well in the Lighthouse by one of my favorite bands, Arcade Fire. Resurrected, living in a lighthouse. If you leave, the ships are gonna wreck. Listening to that song one day, the idea of a lighthouse keeper tasked with preventing shipwrecks in the afterlife got sort of stuck in my head. I kept coming up with these disjointed ideas about what might happen if that lighthouse keeper, and jotting them down in several completely disorganized notebooks, until eventually I somehow pulled all that into this story. In honor of that inspiration, I named Edwin after Arcade Fire co-founder Edwin Butler. Rose takes her name from another real person who had a big influence on the narrative, 20th century writer Rose Alatini. Ooh. I modeled some of Rose and Edwin's relationship off of that of the characters Antoinette and Dennis in Alatini's 1918 novel, Despised and Rejected. It's about a group of social misfits trying to get by and avoid conscription during World War I. It's a really interesting book that was pretty ahead of its time in some of the social issues it addresses. And one thing that was especially memorable to me was that Antoinette seems heavily implied to be bisexual. As a bisexual woman myself, I really appreciated that example of early potential representation. It inspired me to write a similar character and be a bit more explicit about her identity. I see. In my early drafts of the story, Rose and Mayara were actually supposed to kiss at the end. The more I worked on it, the more I questioned whether the romance really fit. One thing that happened was that Elle ended up having a bigger role in the story than I had initially envisioned. Focusing a bit more on her than her for a while meant that Rose and Mayara spent less time getting to know each other. Yes, that is true. That's a good point. So it really did feel like that bit of emotion at the end. That's more of a felt right to frame that as more of the start of their potential relationship. Another factor was that partway through the writing process of this VN, I took a break to write Well Met by Moonlight, my entry in the Yaoi Jam 2018. The most common bit of constructive criticism that I heard from people who read that one was that they found it surprising and a little strange that the main couple kissed so soon after meeting each other. I thought about that a lot. I realized that maybe I was expecting readers to be as happy that a couple got together as I was, when I hadn't really provided them with all the information I have in my head about why they would be a good partners for each other, yet. Although also I would totally kiss a cute, mysterious forest stranger, and if you would too, you should read that VN. It's free. Well Met by Moonlight. Well, you heard me. You heard. If you would kiss a cute, mysterious forest stranger, read Well Met by Moonlight. So I really didn't want to make that same mistake this time. And rather than change the whole structure of the story to give Rose and Mayara more time to establish their relationship, I decided to drop the romance. It was important to me that I still make it clear that they're both attracted to women, both for the sake of representation and because that was central to my original visions for the characters. I do still like to think they might start dating sometime in the future after the true ending. It's really up to each individual reader to decide. I like that interpretation. I agree. Unlike the other visual novels I've released so far, this one has gameplay. Thanks to Scarn on Lemnisoft for writing the image map tutorial that taught me how to implement that. Originally I was hoping that making this kind of a point-and-click game would help me avoid writing narration. I generally have a hard time with narration, and I feel much more comfortable just writing dialogue. That's fair. I also didn't think anyone needed to read yet another amnesiac visual novel protagonist's inner monologue about the trials of not knowing who they are. The pacing of the story wasn't working out in some of my early narration-free drafts. So I ended up just trying my hand at very stylized third-person narration rather than writing from Mayara's perspective. I give the point-and-click segments anyway because they're fun. Hopefully. It's really interesting. I was gonna say, the point-and-click stuff didn't really... I mean, they did have a role, as you were discovering. what in the scenery is there to trigger memories to come back. I was gonna say it didn't have that much of a role, but it had enough of a role. Speaking of fun, the board game Rose, Elle, and Mayara play is actually a real game. Coming up with the idea of having the three of them play a card game together, I looked into some early board games that Rose might have known about in her original time period. I was really excited to find out about the Mansion of Happiness, which fits in with the story's theme so well. And I have BoardGameGeek.com to thank for my knowledge of the rules. Even the game's instructions to assign a letter to each player ended up working really well. Since that bit shows that Rose is becoming more comfortable with her original identity, in contrast with Mayara, who still hasn't figured out her real name. She used to be called G instead, and what's sort of an inside joke with myself. That's a short form for her dialogue as the guest in the programming. Oh, thanks again for reading not only the strange story I wrote, but also my rambling notes about it. I really hope you enjoyed this experience. It's been the biggest visual novel project I've managed by myself so far. It was a lot of work. I still have some even bigger ideas for other VNs, and I hope you'll check them out once they're released one day. Unless you're reading this from the future, in which case I hope you check them out now, right after you find a way to send a message back in time to tell me what the future is like. I haven't been able to go there myself on account of the broken time machine, but I'm working on it. Maybe I'll see you there. Ah, I get it. Ah, Jane Tyder. Be careful with the microwave, though. As a time machine, the phone wave can be pretty spotty. There's just a bit something extra, but if we look at the photograph before we have their sleepover with Elle, the guest thinks the photograph she saw on the bedroom wall earlier. Three similar-looking women sewing together. Must have been Elle and her two sisters. She wonders if careful analysis on the picture would reveal which one was the optimist and which was the cynic. I think we haven't done. We can examine the door. It's locked, of course. What if that's the only thing we missed? Hey! Okay, finally. And realistically, we had already seen pretty much all the dialogue out there. But aside from a few small variations that we found by going through the game with examining different options on different days. I was gonna say, in some cases, not examining certain objects on one day, examining them on the second day, gave you just a slight variation, which didn't trigger the skip option, so technically different. But yeah, to say, one of the things we missed was examining the placard on the door, which I didn't think I did. I might have missed in some degree. That was one of the things I remember not picking up. There's also slight variations in all the dialogue in Elle's bedroom if you go in there before meeting her. I was gonna say, that's how I got the bit in the conversation about Elle's sisters. You examine the photos, the picture on the wall before meeting Elle. And also the stuff in Elle's jewelry box. But yeah. You have to be thorough if you want to get to the last of the secrets. And once you've seen all the endings, seen all the flavor text, got our bonus text. Our bonus art. Which is precisely what I wanted to end off on. Because I really enjoyed this game. If you've been following any of the other games I've played in the past, you know that this kind of story is right up my alley. I love it. Oh! And there we are. We'll leave off on this. Discovered all the secrets of the light at the end of the ocean. Thanks for reading. Thanks for putting this together. It was fantastic. See, like I said back when I played Blank Space and The more recent one was Death Direct to Your Door. Just these interesting takes on that sort of interesting takes on purgatory and death and just limbo. That's the term I was looking for. That space between life and death. There's so many different ways you can interpret that journey. And there's so many different stories you can tell, too. And it really did come through. This felt like... Again, in this case, it was a very personal story. And it didn't have to get too deep into the details of what was going on in Mayara's life. Like, I was gonna say, I feel like we learned more about Rose than we did about Mayara, but we learned enough to understand. You know what I mean? I say, I feel like, at the very least, we learned enough that I was able to make those certain theorizing that I had done in the previous video. That pretty much Mayara was been suffering from depression for a while, and breaking up with her girlfriend only worsened this. As Elle said in the party scene, this was her second suicide attempt. Her first probably coming sometime after broke up with her girlfriend. That's what led to her that hospital flashback scene, which is the inevitable panic of family trying to process and deal with it. And that family trying to process and deal with something like that, that's not always a recipe for making things better. The way that was presented, that felt really raw. Really real. At least I can relate to that. Just that immediate... Like, there's that reaction of the family wanting to... Sure, in some degree they do care, but inevitably it's a burden they don't want to take on. That only leaves you feeling more alone. Like, I remember after I attempted suicide way back in the day, in my high school days, it was immediate reaction. It was very much a, how could you do this to us? Why would you do this? Struggling to understand, but like coming off as like, why would you hurt us by doing this? Which, from perspective, yeah, that it does no doubt hurt your loved ones when you commit suicide, when you die. It no doubt hurts your loved ones. They feel that pain, but for someone who kind of was trying to die, it only comes off as making you feel more guilty. It doesn't help at all. So in the end, in my case, the family I was living with at the time they just wanted to push it away. We never talked about it, really. One of those things where things Even after the initial reaction, things got better for a little bit, and then they just went right back to the shitty way they were. So, with Mayara being just essentially pushed off on her aunt, that's too relatable. I can't deal with this. Go stay with your aunt. The way that was presented with that dark text, that just... thinking back on everything we've seen, that hits hard. That hits hard. I think I've been through exactly the depiction of the lighthouse. Obviously, I love Elle. I love Elle. That's fantastic. I love Elle. She's fantastic. Oh gosh, she's very much an absolute delight. But Rose... I do like Rose, and it was kind of a case of rooting for Rose to warm up a little bit. And again, it's real subtle change through the game. It's not a night and day difference. It's a real subtle... That's part of the path you have to take to get the true ending. It's just kind of not go into any bad topics with her. She's obviously been living alone for 95 years. So she's much retreated into herself, losing Edwin to the afterlife or whatever awaited him afterwards. She's obviously retreated in herself. She's not good with people anymore. Being alone for 95 years will do that to you, I imagine. So when it comes time to actually interact with someone else who comes to the island, she's very reserved, awkward, easily standoffish. All that warmth locked away, pretty much, so... Interactions between Mayara and Rose really are about drawing that out. Hence why they just trying to make conversation, offering to help. Just why that was enough to slowly get her more comfortable around us. And learning about her past only endeared her to us even more. Everything she's been through, she's got what she wanted, but it's hardly a dream. We lost so much to even get that. I do like to believe that Elle called in a favor to send Rose back to Mayara's time afterwards, the very clear shipper on deck, as what tends to be when you are the middle sister of the fates, measuring the thread of fate. Just fantastic. I love that. God, it's just, again, really charming. All in all, really charming. So, now that we've seen all the secrets of the light at the end of the ocean, go get yourself a nice cup of tea. I think it's a good time for that. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and feeling, and all that. And I'll catch you next time.